Hello, everybody, and welcome to another round of the FDL Super Formula Lights Championship here in Season 3 of 2025. This is, of course, the Player One Sim Gears Super Formula Lights Championship, supported by Everything Simulated, Capso Marketing and Print Racer as well. We are here in the rain in Fuji for our final sprint round of the season. We've already had two of these. We'll be going again one more time. 15 minutes for the first race, coming up in about 2 minutes, actually, or a little bit longer than that, actually, but and then half an hour, a little bit later on, in the second race of the day, before we have a 45-minute feature at Bathurst next week, and the 60-minute finale at Silverstone the week after that. It is myself, Ewan, and Alex Goldschmidt alongside me tonight, with Austin Sheff, the camera operator and producer behind the scenes. Good to be alongside you for this one, Alex, and I know you've not done any of this season, but it's always been very, very exciting, this championship, and the rain is going to add something really into the mix here at Fuji, and something else to note as well, of course. No chicane as they get down towards turn 10, which is very rare to see.
Yeah, I mean, turn 10, it's going to be more of a literally try and see how brave you can be going through a Dunlop corner. Of course, Fuji Speedway, one of the longest start-finish straights known to modern-day motorsport, around 1.5 kilometers. So expect plenty of slipstreaming and a lot of hard braking into turn 1. So it could be a case of seeing how the drivers get on over the respective qualifying sessions, as you said, being a sprint race format for this particular round. It's just about, crossing the T's and dotting the I's, and obviously with the rain, visibility is going to be at a premium here, Ewan.
Yeah, certainly in this opening lap, which is not too far away. We're in lone qualifying at the moment, as you can see, so the drivers have mostly done their lap times already, actually. Brodie McConkey is currently the best, has the best time, I should say, with a 1:37.9, but it's only a few hundredths ahead of Mark Hilly, who is still our championship leader and has been for some time now. You can see the rest of the field on the left-hand side of your screen. Mark Hilly, as I say, has won the last 3 races in a row, or has won a race, I should say, in the last 3 weeks. One of the 2 races at Detroit was the one he won, and that's given him a big, big championship lead now. 95 points over Craig Edwards, who we know to be very, very good in the wet weather conditions. Doesn't seem to be here today from what I can see. Oh no, he is, excuse me, but he's not up towards the front, which is very unusual in the wet weather conditions for him. Also, just quickly while the session ends here and we go towards the race, Jackson Rihanna is 111 points back, Dylan DeBono 146 back, Thomas Hinds rounds out the top 5, 153 back. Harrison Dusky is next, but he is going to have to start from the pit lane in both races because of his penalty points throughout the season so far. Let's have a look at the starting grid then for race number 1 of the day. We've got a slightly extended 3-minute gridding process as for a slightly shortened qualifying session that we just saw there. That's the bottom end of the standings. But at the top, Brodie McConkey is going to lead the way. There it is, close with Mark Hilly, with Angus Milne and Jackson Rihanna then 3rd and 4th. Bill Vella rounds out top 5 ahead of Craig Edwards, who's normally very strong in these conditions, but is only 6th here. Scott Bartine, reigning champion, is 7th ahead of Thomas Hinds. Alex Stevens has got the silver class pole position here in this qualified session. He's also got the championship lead, by the way, in that class. Tristan McLaren rounds out the top 10. Tom Donahue and Danny Davison then on row 6, Giuliano Sinese and Miguel Teixeira. Marcus Knitzer and Douglas Gowans are next ahead of Nick Bottrell and Darren Fahey. Scott Pocock and Adrian Loretti round out the top 20. Jason Madden and Will Ryder on row 11, ahead of Dylan DeBono and Matt Tresorio. It is Daniel Ackland and Stuart Thompson, last of those who set times. And at the bottom end of the field, lots of drivers not setting times, actually. Of those who are going to start, because not all of them are actually in... obviously in the race, some of the race control. Harrison Dusky, Daniel Byrne, Nathan Verney, Todd Parks, Jake Robillard and Sam Katsinos should be those who start the race. I see those who have got the black numbers on the left-hand side will not start. They're all gridding up rather quickly here, and you say, Alex, they're going to think very hard about their run down towards turn 1. It's not a very long first race, but the visibility is going to be bad to begin with here. And it's going to be very interesting to see how many and how they get through this opening lap of the race, especially.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a bit of a charge from Dylan DeBono. I mean, currently 4th in the standings overall, so he's got a mountain to climb. Pardon the pun, because we are at the foothills of Mount Fuji, but nevertheless, red lights are about to ignite here, Ewan, for the first race out of 2.
Absolutely, it's only taken them 2 minutes or so to get onto the grid here at Fuji, and we're underway. Oh, and immediately ducking out of the slipstream there was somebody getting away very, very slowly in the background. That was Migo Teixeira, who didn't go anywhere. Now the spray gets kicked up. Not quite as bad as you might think, actually, at this moment, but they're all on wet tyres, other than 1 or 2 exceptions. We'll go through those in a moment as these drivers try to go through turn 1 all cleanly. Championship leader Mark Hilly takes that lead away from Brody McConkey immediately off the start of this race.
Yeah, Rihanna and Edwards have also moved up positions. So has Scott Bartine, who now rounds out the top 5. Tristan McLaren leads the Silver Division down in 10th as Alex Stevens has lost a couple of places. And there's a few spinners. These are cold, wet tyres on this opening lap. And going through into turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, it really has shown. And that was the number, I think it was the number 444. We've got more drama in the background, more spinners, Ewan. This wet weather has provisionally put the, well, has definitely put the SFL cat amongst the pigeons.
It has, and Mark Hilly's under pressure here for the lead, and now second place as well. He'll keep second at least ahead of Jackson Rihanna, who then goes for a spin himself. We've already seen Phil Vella around. We've also seen Tom Donahue around, and Craig Edwards, who's down to the back end of the field. So the driver who is second in this championship has dropped all the way down. There's Adrian Loretti, who drops it out of turn 15. I'm expecting it to be difficult, but so many of these drivers just losing it, getting on the power out of these slower speed corners.
And there's the 375 of Daniel Ackland that has also gone for a turnaround. There's one driver who has, as we've had, Phil Vella's just had the mechanical black flag shown his way. Daniel Byrne in the number 808 is the only driver I can see, get this, on dry weather tyres. That's Brain trying to pull the old Jensen Button trick as McConkey and Hilly go side by side into turn 3. McConkey round the outside, keeps ahead for the meantime. Things are starting to stabilise. But, I mean, what on earth possessed Daniel Byrne to go, yeah, I'm going to try the old Jensen Button trick and stay on the slicks. That could prove to bite him in the backside a little bit later on in this 15-minute encounter.
Let's wait and see, because the spray is not very, you know... oh, and a spin in front of him. Bottrell and Teixeira spin. Oh, and it does. Somebody goes right ramping over the back of somebody else as well. Tesorario has gone dropping down the field as well. Todd Parks was the one who got some airtime there. And there's some meatballs now. Jason Madden must have been the driver that he hit, because he's got a meatball as well. Dear, oh dear. It is very, very chaotic to be in this race, and that's what expected. By the way, I don't think I said this earlier. Both races tonight are expected to be in the wet weather, although this race has, at least it stopped raining while the race is going on. It is still wet, and that's what's possessed Daniel Byrne to do this alternate strategy. Not sure it's quite going to work, but he's going side by side with Donahue at the moment, and he's just inside the top 20. He will definitely stay inside the top 20 as well, because Jason Madden is going to have to come into the pit lane in the next few moments. Further up front, look at that in the background. Mark Hilly and Brody McConkey going side by side just up the road there for the lead of this race. It looks like Hilly got in the draft and went straight through there for the race lead. There he is, but he goes wide. Oh, just as soon as he gets the race lead, he loses it again. And Brody McConkey goes straight back in front, side by side again towards turn 2. And round the outside for Brody McConkey. He will keep the place, or will he? Inside line of Mark Hilly, who's right round the outside. Great racing between the two. And perhaps on the preferable line here, Mark Hilly. He'll have the inside for the next turn, and he will have the lead.
Yeah, and they have pulled away from Danny Davidson, and again McConkey goes back into the race lead. Someone who's engaged the 3000 IQ strat at the moment, Jake Robbion, up 17 spots from 33rd on the grid. Now is 1 spot away from the top 15 at the moment. So his strategy in this sprint race has been absolutely mighty, but he's also, more to the point here, Ewan, kept his nose fairly clean.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, it seems, and you better remember that for race 2. Staying out of trouble is your best way to make positions. I think that has become pretty clear over the course of these first few laps. This is Scott Pocock meantime. 17th place, and this is right around where Donahue and Byrne are. This is where the silver leader is, Alex Stevens, who still is leading here. Tristan McLaren still behind him. They started 9th and 10th, no Chattel, they're together again, but 7th and 8th now as Tristan McLaren gets into the slipstream now of Alex Stevens. Oh, not really a championship contender in silver, but it's still only 60 points behind, and it's not over yet, definitely. McLaren now gets into the slipstream. He pulls alongside as do the leaders. It's all happening here. Both gold and silver divisions side by side for the lead. Tadese gets past both of the silvers. Hilly gets past McConkey for the lead, who tries to look down the inside of turn 3. It's not going to happen. Outside line instead, and he'll have to try again at turn 4 through the very, very long right-hander. Hilly and McConkey here having a great battle. They're so evenly matched, it looks like, at the moment.
Yeah, more to the point here, Danny Davidson, who's running P3 at the moment, just set a new fastest lap of the race of 1:37.528, and he's about 9/10 to a second quicker than the two in front, who are absolutely got their elbows out at the moment. This is a great duel as we're more than a third of the way through the 15 minutes. Hilly retakes the lead, McConkey down in second as they go through at turn 10 at Dunlop Corner, and then it's the run through in towards turn number 11, and then they've got this elevation change up the hill, or they go through the final turn and then back on the power through Panasonic, and then it's that long 1.5 kilometre run. And that's going to give McConkey the advantage here.
Really depends where you want to be towards the end of this race as well, by the way, as they get towards the finish here. How are they going to figure this one out between the two of them? Here you can see the groove tyres used by all of these drivers, apart from Daniel Byrne. Just chase the slipstream, chase the water, the spray that's being picked up in front. Straight, incredibly long. Can't even see the final corner from turn 1 because of the weather conditions, as McConkey does get into the slipstream here. Wasn't ahead by the line, so something to remember, I guess, for the final part of this race. Through turn 1, McConkey not close enough. Hilly continues to lead. Will he lead through turn 3 as well? Yes, he will. And there's Stevens. He's got the silver class lead back again.
Yeah, and he's got Tristan McLaren, Marcus Konitska behind, and they are covered by 0.6 of a second. So the top 3 in silver putting on their own showcase here at Fuji. So Alex Stevens has got to be very much eyeballs in the back of his head at the moment as Mark Hilly drops down to third, back up to first. Maybe just a little glitch on the timing there. But Danny Davidson has got to within 1.3 seconds of the leaders, as this is going to be McLaren versus Stevens. McLaren up the inside, takes the silver class lead away, goes through turn 10. I think the back end got a little bit squirrely there for the driver in the number 64. And there is Konitska waiting for his opportunity to pull the trigger. Not if, but when.
It's the podium in silver being settled in front of our eyes at the moment. Just in the background, you will have seen Douglas Gowans go for a spin, by the way, out of turn 6. Oh, and speaking of spins, there goes Nick Bottrell, who has gone for one out of turn 10. The fast right-hander. He's a fast right-hander on this layout anyway, where the chicane normally is. And into the final sector for him, he spins around. Meantime, McConkey past Hilly again as they start another lap. And, well, you can see them exchanging places on the way through. They are in the silver class lead as well. But here are the leaders, Hilly and McConkey. McConkey on the inside again here, but Hilly's starting to show signs of actual defence here. So far, up to this point, we've seen the leaders exchanging places again and again and again. But now we're starting to see Mark Hilly actually take charge of this race and defend his position well here.
Yeah, and as that's happening, it's allowing Danny Davidson in third place. He's got to within 0.9 of a second of the two leaders, because they've been squabbling for the last 9 minutes plus change here, Ewan. It's a case that Davidson's just thought, right, I've got a bit of clear air, let's use it to my advantage. And the more that these two squabble, the closer and closer through each sector of this lap here at Fuji, Davidson is going to get closer. And last time around, he was not as quick as McConkey, who's the quickest out of the top 3, but still, he's making gains towards that top 2.
Out of the final corner, and McConkey is going to challenge Hilly again. As you say, Davidson is not that far away at all here. the driver who was runner-up in our first championship here, by the way, in the Player One SimGears Super Formula Lights Championship. He was so close to a title. Hilly McConkey now will battle right in front of him. As McConkey pulls to the inside, very nearly goes straight into the side of Hilly as well as they cross the line there. That was too close for comfort, really. They came into turn one. McConkey now does have the lead, and that's the first decisive overtake we've really seen between these two for some time. Hilly now will get into the slipstream and return, though, into turn three, as behind the battle for 12. But McConkey does have to defend from Hilly again. Who's going to come out the other side with the place, I wonder? McConkey, I think, is going to just about hold it, but those two are super close. In fact, Hilly's close again, actually. They're making another move here, and there he goes. He goes back in front. You can see it on your timing there. He's back in front again, although McConkey, again, is not that far away. He's still side by side with Hilly. He's on the inside, going towards where the chicane would normally be. A great overtaking chance normally, but it's high speed, and McConkey holds the inside, so he gets the place.
Oh, they are really going to have to watch themselves now, because Danny Davison is now making it from 2's company to 3's a crowd. Thomas Hines not too far behind either, so it could be a 4-horse race towards the end of this 15-minute sprint race that we've got here, Ewan. And you can see all the debris being chucked in the peripheral vision of Mark Hilly at the moment by Brodie McConkey. And there is Davidson. And again, it's going to be more shades of Mansell versus Senna in 91. Look at them. They are millimetres. They're literally not even the full width of a front wing apart, as Mark Hilly gets the side draft down the start-finish straight. Where's Davison's going to put his car? Is he going to thread the eye of the needle? He thought about it, but decided against it. Good call there by the number 75 as McConkey back up the inside at turn one, retakes the lead. And we haven't got long left. We've got about 3 minutes to go. So this is absolutely riveting stuff. Danny Davison is just biding his time, and now I think probably his strategy, which is closing in on the race leaders, has paid dividends, but not quite fully yet, because he looks up the inside at 100R on Mark Hilly and can't get through quite yet.
He's gone! He's gone! McConkey spins and he clips Davison as well! Davison will spin as he's clipped by McConkey, who spins around, coming out of the hairpin there at turn 6. Oh, that's race defining, it looks like. McConkey's going to rejoin straight in front of Davison. Stadesi's going to go flying past them all. And Angus Milne will join them in the top 5 as well. Here he comes, Milne. Sideline, and no, he's not going to do that quite, but that's a big moment in this race. That might well have just settled this race. Mark Hilly's got 1.5 seconds and 2 more laps to close this one out, as McConkey and Davison both spin round through turn 6.
Your heart goes out to them, because they've been battling so hard over the course of the initial first 12 minutes of this race, and then just the slightest mistake by Brodie McConkey, and unfortunately Danny Davison has now been demoted down to 7th as a result of just the spin around from McConkey. Clips Davison. Davison has nowhere to go, and well, that could have been a possible P2, maybe even a race victory. Here goes Angus Milne round the outside of Brodie McConkey down the start-finish straight. So that is a change for P5, but well, Mark Hilly now leading Thomas Hines. Jackson Rahana now in P3. So this has really upset the apple cart, so to speak here, Ewan. But to see Mark Hilly and Brodie McConkey for battling as long as they did, I was kind of wondering when there was going to be something that would have gone awry, and unfortunately it was McConkey that started the chain reaction.
It was. That's a real shame for McConkey. Drove well up to that point, but unfortunately has dropped down now. His second podium of the season will have to wait, and it's another sprint round in which he's gone without a podium. Only one so far, coming in a feature race at Road America. The rain has certainly stopped, and it hasn't been raining for these 15 minutes, but you can start to see a dry line emerging right now. Daniel Byrne, the only one on dry tyres, and it seemed really that there's been very much difference between the dries and the wets, in honesty. Maybe there's been a little bit of an advantage for the wets, but Daniel Byrne started right at the back of the field. So I think he probably thought, well, I might as well try it because I'm already last. So he moved up to 20th, but seemed to stall in the last few moments. See what happens in race 2, because the rain goes the opposite way. The chance gets increasing as we go on in the race. But if it's raining at the beginning, they will probably rain the whole way through, and it will be wet tyres the whole way through, which is probably what's expected. With just over 10 seconds to go, Mark Healy crosses the line. Is he going to go on to another race victory here? It would be his 4th race win of the season in just 8 races. A remarkable achievement if he can just hold on for one more lap here.
Yeah, and there is a definitive dry line showing around the speedway here at Fuji. But yeah, I mean, Mark Healy, right place, right time, got out of the way in cat-like reflexes to avoid spinning Brodie McConkey, and now he's having to get past some back marker traffic. But still, even with the 1.1 second advantage over Thomas Hines, you can never say never with what can happen in a race here at Fuji. It can be so topsy-turvy. Meantime, the lap times I've seen from Daniel Byrne, who's on those dry tyres, he set the fastest lap of the race, 1:34.881. But it's up the hill for Mark Healy for the final time here on lap 10, as we are more than a minute past the 15-minute race distance here at Fuji. Looks like it's going to be, rest assured, championship leader is going to carry on with winning ways.
Absolutely he is. And with his closest championship rival, Craig Edwards, down in 26th, this is a big, big step forward in the championship race for Mark Healy as he now comes across the start-finish line. Mark Healy wins again for a 4th time this season in the Player One SimGears Super Formula Lights Championship. Thomas Ince goes over the line in second with a great performance from him. And Jackson Riada is going to be the 2nd place man in the championship and the closest now to Mark Healy after this performance, I think, because he has got that 3rd position well in front of Craig Edwards, who's way down the field. Further behind, Alex Stevens wins in the silver class, and that will give him a big advantage now in the silver championship. And of Jay Dixon, who's not here today, started 24 points back, and Darren Fahey, who finished in 14th place, he started the day 34 points behind. So there'll be gaps extending there, but this race is all about Mark Healy, and I guess as well all about that unfortunate spin for Brodie McConkey, who ends up finishing 4th. Yeah,
along with that, Dylan De Bono has also made significant inroads in this race. Started P23, finishes 8th. So yeah, I think you're very much right with what you said about Mark Healy, that he's going to have a bigger lead in the championship. But Craig Edwards, the biggest loser out of everybody in the gold category. You know, Jackson Rihana, that will help him go up into P2. I think Dylan De Bono may have gotten a little bit further ahead of Craig Edwards, so Craig Edwards might tumble out of the top 3 after this 15-minute sprint race. But yeah, the battles between Healy McConkey and in the latter stages Danny Davison was enthralling to watch, and then of course the battle between Alex Stevens, Marcus Konitska and Tristan McLaren, that was a great battle as well in its own right. So yeah, bring on race 2 is all I say.
Absolutely, and we'll bring that to you in a moment. Nobody's told Giuliano Sinese that this race is finished. He's still going. He'll come into pit lane now, and he'll get into the 2nd server. Just waiting for Matt Tesorario to pit in here, and we'll be able to show you the results in a moment. But he's taken a long time to get back to the start-finish line, and there you go. So I think that's just about everybody over the line, and we can now show you the results from race number 1 here at Fuji Speedway in the Player One SimGears Super Formula Lights Championship here tonight. Mark Healy wins the race ahead of Thomas Ince and Jackson Riada on the podium by time 12th, ahead of Will Ryan, Darren Fahey and Tom Donahue rounding out the top 15. Jake Robillard in 16th place, ahead of Scott Pocock, with Douglas Gowans, Daniel Byrne and Miguel Texeira rounding out the top 20. Nathan Verney next, ahead of Aidan Loretti and Harrison Dusky, who made up 6 places after having started from the pit lane. Jason Maddow was next, ahead of Nick Bottrell rounding up top 25. Phil Bell and Craig Edwards dropped a long way down to lose 21 places each. Stuart Thompson next, ahead of Daniel Lackand, Matt Tesorario and Todd Parks to round out those who participated in race number 1. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back on the other side, we will be back with race number 2, the half-an-hour feature race here tonight from Fuji, and that will bring us to the end of tonight's proceedings. So stay with us. We'll be back in a couple of moments' time. Well, welcome back to Fuji for race 2, where conditions are a little bit different, a little bit better, as you can see. And we are in open qualifying, much more exciting, of course, than the low qualifying session that we saw earlier on, where everybody's out there together. The battle for slipstream, the battle to stay out of traffic as well is a massive one. And there, incidentally, is Mark Hilly just up in front of us here, actually getting dived there by somebody. That's got rather rude into the final corner, and he won't be delighted about that at all. But anyway, it's myself, Ewan O'Leary, Alex Goldschmidt in the commentary box with Austin Sheff, our producer tonight. That was an entertaining first race, Alex, and it does seem that the spray is actually still, or at least the water is at least just laying on the racetrack slightly at the moment, but everybody's on dry tyres. Everyone will be waiting to see when the rain starts to fall in the race, whether it will be right from the beginning or whether it will be a bit more complicated than that. But it's effectively the opposite to race 1, where the rain chance increases as they go along, whereas the race we've just seen, obviously, it was decreasing all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, we've already finished the dry line showing on the circuit as we saw that titanic battle between Mark Hilly, Danny Davidson towards the latter stages, then also Brody McConkey, who unfortunately just had that moment with a couple of laps to spare and it just all went horribly wrong. Alex Stevens continues his winning ways in the silver class, but a great battle with him and a few other drivers, Chester McLaren being one of them. So this qualifying session, the visibility is a lot better for the drivers at the moment, and some going around the outside at turn number 10, which has to be seen to be believed, and there is the run up the hill as we ride on board with Nick Botchwell in the 225 car. He's currently P6 at the moment, he's P6 at qualifying at the moment. So at the minute, Phil Vella in the 42 is the quickest of anybody. Thomas Hines goes up to P2, just under 4.5 tenths behind. And then Craig Edwards decides, well, let's show these guys what I can actually do. And he goes P2 on a 31.387. Scott Bartine, and then Jackson Rahana. It's changing all the time. Dylan DeBona, the first one to dive underneath 1 minute 31, the 1:11. And at the moment, it's Scott Pocock who's actually leading the way in the silver class. 7th quickest with the 1:31.493. We're over halfway through the session, but yeah, an open qualifying is a bit more entertaining where you don't just have to depend on yourself, you can depend on the traffic around you.
And the battle for slipstream, the battle for clear track is a really interesting one as well, because you sort of want the slipstream down the very, very long front straight here, obviously, but and kind of here as well, because this is quite a long flat-out section as well in these cars. But you also don't want the traffic then into the final sector, which is what we might be about to see for Will Ryan here. He gets a good run through turn 10. That's got Bartine in front, so maybe Bartine's not going to follow him. Sorry, not going to hold him up too much through this final section. But yeah, it's that classic balance really between the two. Oh, and there's that slide and a nearly spin for Will Ryan as well. The striking that balance here, and qualifying session is going to look very, very different, I think, to the one we've just seen, because it's not lone qualifying. Where at the moment is our championship leader Mark Hilly?
23rd.
23rd. Oh, I didn't even spot him. He was so far down. 23rd. So yeah, he's got some big work to do here. But I'm pretty sure we saw this from him last week at Imola, where he was quite a long way down for a long time, and then he shot up to the top of the standings right at the end, and there you go, just as I'm saying it, he does it again. 5th place for him now, he'll be a lot more comfortable with that.
Yeah, improvements coming all the while as the track is evolving as we head into the final 3 minutes of this open 10-minute qualifying session. There's the number 57, Jackson Rahana. He's got the, I think that's Daniel Byrne behind him in the 808. Daniel currently sitting down in 19th position. And it's 9/100ths of a second that separates Dylan DeBono from Jackson Rahana for the pole position for the 30-minute feature race. Now, there's one thing that we haven't talked about really. Possibility of a fuel stop for these drivers in this 30-minute sprint race here, Ewan.
Absolutely, yeah. You're right to point out that I haven't mentioned that yet, because it's true. We don't do pit stops in the 15-minute races. Frankly, they're too short. But we do have a stop for this second race, and indeed we have them for the feature race, and that we will have for the finale in 2 weeks' time as well in in case you've not been with us so far this season. So the fuel is a set for everybody because this is a fixed setup series. The fuel is very limited to begin with. I think they start with about 17 litres, which is take you about 20 minutes. So a pit stop should be needed. However, if there's 2 or 3 laps of safety car, especially if it's wet, the whole race, a no-stop strategy is possible. Now, because they're limited on fuel to begin with, but the fuel cap is 100%, so they can put 46 litres in if they run the tank absolutely dry and then fill the tank all the way up. Obviously, no one's going to actually do that, but they can fill it all the way up to 46 litres, the maximum of this tank. That means they can come in on lap 1 and still make it to the end of the race here. It means that in a normal race with no safety cars interrupting and no pit stops sort of made, no pit stop decisions made for them by rain, the pit stop window could be anywhere from lap 1 to lap 13, which is so exciting to watch when you just do not know when the best time is to come into pit lane, and that window's just so open as it should be in this race.
Yeah, and we've had our first couple of lap times. Oh, big old spin by the 27 coming out of turn number 10. And again, the cars scatter left and right. I say that Dylan De Bono and Giuliano Senese and Phil Vella are the first 3 drivers to go sub 1 minute 30. And as I said, Thomas Hines and Danny Davison go to 3rd and 5th respectively. Hines now underneath the 1 minute 30 second bracket. The shadow goes up into P6. And that is the leading silver driver. Scott Pocock was running as high as P3 at one point in this qualifying session, but this could be the last opportunity that these drivers get, including current championship leader, number 59, there he is, Mark Hilly, going into turn 1. The checker is going to be out very, very shortly. And again, we're seeing slipstreams ahoy with Daniel Byrne trying to get through at turn 1. But yeah, it's just about how you can mediate that strategy. Thomas Hines has pitted. Craig Edwards, who's at the moment currently 13th, has also pitted. But the checker is out for the session here, Ewan.
Yeah, and Mark Hilly is still outside the top 10. Harrison Dusky moves up to the front along with Giuliano Senese. That's the end of their session. But what about this man? He can get into a real position of almost invincibility in this championship, but he's getting dived into turn 10. Oh my word, someone was down, he's inside there, and he's wide now. He might have got an off-track through that. He's certainly going to be slowed down by Dylan De Bono. Now, we do have live stewarding in this series and live penalties as well, and qualifying impeding is one of the most common penalties we see week to week. That is a pit lane start if either of those two are judged to impede the other. But it looked to me like they were both on qualifying laps and they were both racing into the corner. I'm not really sure what you do about that as race control, but they went side by side there, did the 2 of them, and look at that, they are going to suffer as a result. Michael Texera moves up to the front meantime. A silver driver very nearly took pole there. Mark Hilly will go over the line. He doesn't improve. He will be at best in 17th place for the championship leader. This is absolutely massive for this championship, as it's the worst qualifying performance from Mark Hilly all season long.
I cannot believe this. Miguel Cesara was literally 1/1000th slower than Harrison Dusky. My goodness, he could have actually stolen pole by next to nothing, but how close can you be on the front row, let alone the top 3, covered by 37 thousandths? Whoa.
Unbelievable. We do have penalties coming in, it seems. We can't see them on our screen, so I'm going to have to look myself here at we do yeah, qualifying impeding for 269. That's not a number I recognise actually from this season, so I'll have to find them myself.
Stuart Thompson, that is.
Stuart Thompson,
yeah.
Thank you. Didn't see that impeding from him, but clearly it happened. Race control are all over that, and we'll see whether Mark Hilly or Dylan De Bono get a penalty, but it will be coming in quite late if it does, so they should both start on the circuit. Anyway, let's have a look at the starting grid and that qualifying result at the end of those 10 minutes. And Harrison Dusky is on the pole position. in our notes, it said that Harrison Dusky will need to start from the pit lane in both races. So whether he's going to start first or not remains to be seen. Migo Texera got up to second, though, 1,000th behind. An unbelievable lap from him. Ahead of Giuliano Sinese, Phil Vella, Dylan De Bono rounding out the top 5, as we just saw. Brody McConkey starts 6th. For race 2, ahead of Tom Donahue and Angus Milne. Scott Pocock will be 9th ahead of Thomas Hinds with Tristan McLaren and Danny Davis. And next, it's Darren Fahey and Alex Stevens then on row 7. And Scott Bartide rounds out the top 15. Ahead of Daniel Byrne, Craig Edwards, Jackson Riada, all in front of Mark Hillier here, by the way. All of those championship contenders, Edwards and Riada. Nick Bottrell as well as Mark Hillier, then rounding out the top 20. Worst qualifying of the season by a bit of a distance. Nathan Verney, 21st, ahead of Jake Robillard, with Will Ryan and Marcus Knitzer on row 12. Adrian Lurty and Matt Tesorio will be on row 13. Daniel Ackland, top parks, row 14, ahead of Jason Madden, Douglas Gowans running up top 30, and then Stuart Thompson, who was at the back anyway, will be starting from the pit lane as well in this race. So, well, 30 minutes of racing and already a lot of drama in that qualifying session, which is, well, great to see for us, but not great for some of the drivers involved in it. There's the windscreen wiper on the pace car. I don't know about you, Alex, though. I can't see the rain actually on the screen at the moment, so I would imagine they're all going to start on dries here.
Yeah, I probably would imagine that's the case as well. But that is a foreboding sign of that front wiper on the Porsche safety car going more than intermittent on that front windscreen. So yeah, it's going to be quite crucial. But everyone's starting to ready up, and we are right. Ackland, Parks, wet tyres, Konitska, Loretti, Verney, Stevens, Bella. They're all so it looks like the rain has started, but maybe they're probably just erring on the side of caution here, Ewan.
Yeah, are they just preempting it?
They might be preempting it, that it is going to rain, and how heavy will that rain get over the course of the 30-minute race distance? That's going to be the crucial point here, because if you saw Daniel Byrne in the first race, being the only one on dry tyres, I'm going to be interested to see what his choice is. Wets.
I can't believe this. Everybody's gone for wets, but it's just not wet. It's bone dry at the moment, which is very, very puzzling. Nobody on wets at the moment. Still got a few to get onto the grid. And of course, Harrison Dusky is starting from pit lane because of his penalties. So he went out in qualifying for a bit of fun, and now he's going to have to start from the pit lane. So effectively, a silver class driver for the first time ever, I think, since we introduced the gold and silver divisions in the Player One Sim Gear Super Formula Lights Championship. A silver class driver will take the pole here at Fuji. Everybody on wet tyres. They're on a dry circuit, though. What is that? What are they all doing? Let's find out over the next half an hour as we get underway on some completely unsuitable tyres. Number of drivers getting underway at different speeds. As a result of that, you can see a little bit of spray being kicked up. So underfoot, clearly, it is a little bit wetter, but it's not raining at the moment. There's a lock-up down the inside from Thomas Hinds, who gets through. On Sinese, who goes a little bit wide there. Here comes Phil Bella on the inside line as well. He slips through on the way towards turn number 2. It looks like they all get through cleanly through turn 1. McConkey gets past De Bono as well. Good start from Brody McConkey, looking to avenge that race 1 spin with a race 2 victory.
Also, in the meantime, Thomas Hinds has flown his way up the order, started on what would have been 10th position, and Brody McConkey's got the lead. McConkey's got through onto Shedder.
That is a very impressive overtake down at turn 6. He was not waiting around, Brody McConkey, but he might be attacked again into turn 6, turn 10, sorry, and there is the rain. There is the rain for the first time, so it looks like these guys have made the right call this time round, but if you think back to a race earlier on this season at Road America, you can understand why some of these guys might have been fearful. This is a big crash. Big crash meantime. Edwards crashed, so is Bartine, Tom Parks as well, and there's a big spin just in front. Harrison Dusky drops down the field. He's starting from the pit lane, he's stopping down again. Oh no, and there's more contact here. There's a lot of contact down at the back end of the field.
Yeah, someone's lost their rear wing. Scott Bartine, Darren Fahey has also got the mechanical black flag. Loretti, oh dear, that it just all went horribly wrong. Mark Hilly in the meantime is now up to 14. Biggest move at the moment. Oh, that's the 40 backwards. Todd Parks out of the final corner.
Another spinner. And it's all happening down the back end of the field especially, and at the front. Here comes Sinese down the inside of Bella. and he's going to not quite get through just yet. Bella's on the outside, and he's going to get a bit of a slipstream actually from Thomas Hinds. Ahead, Teixeira and De Bono go side by side as well to turn 3. Doing a great job at the moment, Miguel Teixeira, and he holds that outside line. He's going to get the inside then for the long right-hander. And I think he's going to keep second place here. Is Teixeira, is he? Well, not quite. Oh, contact as well. De Bono on the inside for turn 6. There goes Bella down the inside of Thomas Hinds. Well, dear me, this is a big battle for second, which is allowing Brodie McConkie to get away.
Yeah, and he's got a lead of 2 seconds at the moment. Incredible stuff as we're only on lap 2. But Brodie McConkie, like you rightly said, Ewan, is trying to make amends for what happened in race number 1. We see the battle between De Bono and Teixeira. They go up the hill, riding on board with Thomas Hinds in the number 52 car. As Teixeira through on De Bono, and that was up the inside. You're going to be able to cover off going into the next right-hander. De Bono back up the inside, retakes second position, and here comes Thomas Hinds. Then you got Phil Vella, Senese, Davison, Donoghue, McLaren, Milne, Rehana, Byrne, Mark Hilly now up into 13. And look at the freight train. Mark Hilly trying to go side by side with Daniel Byrne down the start-finish straight. They're fanning out. It's 3 wide for second position for the briefest of moments. The Shadows leading that battle. Hinds and De Bono getting their elbows out. De Bono in second. Hinds now up into P3, but he runs wide into turn 1. The Shadow looking to go through on the inside, but Hinds will have the inside line going into turn 3 at Coca-Cola coming up now. Literally just a little bit of steering angle, keep the throttle pinned, and then through into turn 4 and into 100R. Mark Hilly with a new fastest lap of the race at 37.7, and he's got through on Daniel Byrne and Tristan McLaren. Look at this. It's like a hornet's nest right now here for second position. McConkie is 4.4 seconds up the road.
I'm not shocked either, given the racing we're seeing between these guys, and just wonder whether one of these guys might actually decide to pit now, because this battle is so fierce. Most of the drivers so far came in after lap 1 because they had meatball flags and damage and all sorts, so that's where most of the pit stops have come from so far. But I wonder whether there's going to be a tactical pit stop for the first time for somebody here, as Hinds gets very loose on the back of Senese, just in front of him. There's another look down the inside at the penultimate turn. Teixeira just forced to wait in line. He needs to stay out of trouble really, although Tristan McLaren's been able to catch up quite a lot since this battle really began. De Bono now getting away, and Senese is starting to be the cork in the bottle. Now, look at this for Hinds. Is he going to go to the pit lane? No, there's the commitment line on the right-hand side. And so far, none of the leaders have gone for it. And in fact, nobody in the background either, apart from Davison, who's just popped off to the pit lane now. And that's no surprise, given the amount of time these guys are starting to lose. Here comes Hinds on the front straight, in the slipstream of Senese. Late on the brakes, it's going to be dangerous down here. Hilly's right in the middle of all this, by the way, as Milne and Donoghue in the background went side by side. Gets away with it, though, and they all get out the other side, okay. Senese still with his nose in front here. Teixeira trying to stay out the way, and in the middle, really. He's on the outside, and he'll have to just tuck in now, but this is unbelievable so far. Really see this in race 1, but so far in race 2, it's been pretty relentless.
It has. It's like everyone's just had their ready record and they're going for it. Senese back up the inside of Teixeira. Phil. Oh no, Teixeira's around! And it's caused pandemonium behind!
And it's caught Phil Vella up. Sorry, it's caught Mark Hilly up, I should say. Now, has he got any damage here, our championship leader? He has. He's got a meatball. Mark Hilly's got a meatball flag. And now Jackson Rihanna has got to take advantage. Edwards is already down the field, and he's going to be almost out of championship contention by the end of tonight, the way it's going. But Jackson Rihanna, it's contact between the teammates, the everything simulated teammates. Tristan McLaren, one of those championship contenders in silver, and one of those big runners from the first races, make contact, and look at that front right tyre. That front right tyre is definitely damaged there.
Angus Milne's got the meatball flag as well. Oh dear, it's all gone horribly wrong. I mean, the sprint race was absolutely fantastic. Now we're seeing a lot more chaos where drivers are just getting it completely wrong. And so multiple drivers having to go into the pit lane because of damage. As you said, that right front wheel on Angus Milne's car, not exactly where it should be placed. And now this has opened up opportunities for many a driver. And leading in the silver class, it's the number 11 of Will Ryan, who's leading the silver class ahead of Marcus Konietzka. Alex Stevens, currently P3 in silver ahead of Jason Madden. Scott Pocock rounds out the silver top 5, but the rain is relentless. These weather conditions, like literally a minute in, we saw the rain come down, Ewan, and it is getting progressively worse. So adapting your driving line around here at Fuji is going to be a task amongst itself.
Certainly is. Mark Hilly now makes his way back out onto the circuit again. His pit stop was only 4 seconds. This is the first time, though, he's been caught up really in an incident like that. His worst finishing position so far this season is 36th at a sprint race at Road Atlanta. So it's not likely to be any worse than that with only 31 in the race. However, it is going to be just as damaging, perhaps more damaging to his championship. And this is what he's come out in, by the way. Normally you want to use your pit stop to get out of traffic, but hit it. Oh! Mark Hilly's been hit again here, and if he's got damage this time, he will have to repair the damage the old-fashioned way. Has he got the meatball flag, and has he got suspension damage? Oh, he's got another meatball, and Mark Hilly here is going to drop a long way down. And suddenly, after almost being in a championship clinching position tonight, he is going to lose big points to the likes of Jackson Rihanna, who's running in the top 5 at the moment with his second meatball of the race.
And here we see Alex Stevens slingshot past the inside of Marcus Konietzka down the start-finish straight. Hard on the brakes goes the number 95 into turn 1 at Daiichi. Oh, no, that's the 66 around Jason Madden. And that was the 4th. I think that was Scott Pocock that might have just had a little bit of contact with him. So more dramas afoot here. And what's more, we were under bright sunshine here, Ewan. We are now under dingy grey clouds, because that weather front is coming in significantly now. The rain's intensifying. It's getting worse out there.
And you can tell with the way that these guys are starting to slip and slide and spin around out there. We saw a fastest lap of the race last time from McConkey, but that is probably going to be the end of that. I'd imagine that'll be the fastest lap of the race, probably, because the weather conditions getting a lot worse now. Is Hinz and De Bono. That's Daniel Byrne. 8th place for him at the moment. No dry tyres to begin with from him. I was criticising these guys for starting on the wet tyres, but it seems to have worked out. You would have only needed to come in on lap 2 anyway. Anyway, they'll have to do their pit stop just for fuel in a moment, as Will Ryan continues to lead in the silver class. He's just in front of Alex Stevens here, so in a silver class leading battle. Just 10 minutes into this one. Still got 20 minutes to go here.
These 10 minutes, I have to be honest here, and I thought the 15-minute sprint race flew by. With the dramas that we've had, there's been so many talking points, but the biggest obviously being Mark Hilly, who's now been on his marks in the pit lane for over 40 seconds, as you rightly said. And look at the standing water at turn 1. It's like we are getting rivers coming around the circuit here at Fuji, and this is going to be treacherous. Visibility at a premium. Rooster tails as high as the eye can see, and drivers have to go on feel alone. And this is going to be where whoever braves it out through this, of course, Brodie McConkey's got the best view in the house because he's 8.8 seconds up the road from Dylan De Bono. So it's everyone from De Bono backwards that are going to be struggling for peripheral vision because the spray is almighty. You can see the decision by Thomas Hinz at the moment to stay out of the rooster tail to keep his visibility at its highest premium possible. But there's Giuliano Sanese battling away with him. They come up the hill. Look, standing water puddles are really starting to make their presence known here, and they are tippy-toeing around the circuit at the moment. But Brodie McConkey's last lap, okay, yes, he's in clear air. Yes, the conditions are worsening. It was only 1.5 seconds off of his fastest lap of the race. So fastest lap at 1:37.126. His last lap at 1:38.659. And then we're seeing, I'm seeing 1:39s. I'm seeing Scott Pocock, Nick Botchell, 1:44.7, 1:43.7. Oh, and that is Jake Robillard for his spin, I'm afraid. And who else is that with him? I think I know Adrian Loretti's had a bit of a moment of his own, but
That was Darren Fahey and the bottom of your screen there, recovering from an issue. This rain's very intermittent, isn't it? Stopped a moment ago, now it's raining again. It's some of my camera angles because it doesn't look like it's raining from here, but then it suddenly does. So, I don't know. Into turn 3. Oh, Burns going to spin there in front of the... Oh, and a big avoidance from somebody. It was Thomas Higgins who had to avoid, and he spun trying to get out the way there of Giuliano Sinese, sorry. And Dylan DeBono's now got a meatball as well. It is all happening at the moment. Ronnie McConkey leading by well over 10 seconds, and he's got to stay out of trouble now because behind they're going all over the place.
I've lost count of how many meatball flags we've had in this race so far. I mean, we had a few in the first race, Ewan, but look at the spray coming from the rear tyres of the 225 of Nick Bott. Oh my goodness! It's like it's like driving with a guide dog at the moment. These drivers are absolutely blinded by the spray that we're seeing at the circuit at the moment. And there is the number 95 of Alex Stevens, who is now into the silver class lead. Of course, and that was Tom Donoghue going off the circuit. What? Again, it's catching them out. The conditions are worsening to the point, as you said, it's like Bambi on ice at the moment. They're skating on an ice rink.
Really are. Was exemplified there as well by Donoghue's spin. And, well, where is he? DeBono, I think, is coming in pit lane, but I couldn't see it. And yeah, there you go, he just came in pit lane. Jackson Rihanna and Harrison Dusky are battling for second place. That's Dusky, by the way, coming from the pit lane to nearly lead this race. Caught the Conky by a second the last lap as well, by the way, so don't count Harrison Dusky out just yet of this race win, although unfortunately for him his championship job's probably over. They're all skating off at turn 1. Danese, and is that Stevens just in front? Alex Stevens in the background. Will Ryan also misses his braking point as these weather conditions become unbelievably difficult now. As you say, it's like an ice rink. There is so much water, and at the moment there is not enough tyre tread to deal with it. These drivers are spinning around and spinning again. Will Ryan again there from 9th place. He goes around. This is absolutely incredible.
Kind of reminds me of one particular race a little bit way back in Formula One where it was the conditions had gotten so bad that everyone else went off at the same corner. I think at the time Lewis Hamilton was running with McLaren, and there was a multiple car pile-up. I think it might have been Germany, I'm not 100% sure, but it kind of reminds me of that. But I think everyone will be breathing a big cumulative sigh of relief the minute they go, oh, thank goodness that's over. And we're only half time, folks. The rain has gotten worse again. You can see the lines that the wet tyres are making in the standing water puddles. There's number 22, Giuliano Sinese versus Marcus Konitska, who is the highest of the silver drivers, currently running P6 at the minute, and he's got a 1.4 second advantage over current silver championship leader Alex Stevens. But again, they're having to use alternative lines to keep out of the rooster tails of those in front. And even though you could just see, like, literally they're about 15 to 25 feet long, these rooster tails behind the cars. They're pushing up that much spray due to the aero going down the start-finish straight. God, that I would hate to be in any driver's shoes right about now.
Absolutely. This is really, really difficult. And fair play to everybody for doing so well comparatively, even if there are a lot of off-track moments at the moment. That's a lap car going off there, by the way. Hopkins got back onto the circuit after nearly 4 minutes in pit lane. He's just over 2 laps behind the next driver, Adrian Loretti, but he'll try and gain as many points as possible. But I think what's pretty clear is that this is going to become his drop round, and his 81 points from that 3rd place finish in the opening round of the season at the Bend Motorsports Park is going to start to count towards his score. So Jackson Rihanna has got to do a little bit better than that. As things stand, Rihanna would gain 39 points tonight over Mark Hilly, but of course we've not seen Rihanna pit, and we have seen plenty of others pit, like Danny Davison, Douglas Gowans, Dylan DeBono, for example, further down. So that might mean he loses a few places here, just Jackson Rihanna. But if he stays up towards the front like he is at the moment, in around the top 5, he'll gain some decent points on Mark Hilly, and that will put him in a decent position before the penultimate round of the championship at Bathurst And it's not a time for Mark Hilly where he wanted momentum to be going away from him, because we're getting towards the end of the season now. As who's that going for a spin?
Senese.
It's Julian Senese spinning out of the final corner. It's a nice 360 actually, and surely he'll pit now after getting a bad run onto the start-finish line. No, he doesn't pit, which is rather strange, but Thomas Hinz does.
Yeah, I think Hinz doing a sensible choice there with just under 13 minutes to go here, Ewan. Just to try and keep out of harm's way, and then we'll have the we possibly could have a big old amount of traffic coming into pit lane very, very soon indeed. Of course, the speed limit will be around about 56 kilometers an hour, and if you get a penalty for driving, if you speed in the pit lane, that could be it for your possible race win or podium, depending on which class you're in. As we see, Tom Donahoe still, well, has recovered. He's dusted himself off, or wiped himself down, actually. Rain got here. You know, he had that little excursion off track a little bit earlier, but he's managed to pick himself up and just carry on with it. You can just see that he's waiting to engage the gears. But sometimes I think of these in these wetter conditions, okay, yes, there's a lot more places where you're going to be more on the throttle, but you're going to have to shift up a little bit just to help keep that traction. You don't want the car going to the rev limiter, and then the minute you engage a gear and you're at high revolutions, well, in these wet weather conditions, that can attribute to some wheel spin if you're going absolutely hell for leather on the accelerator.
There's just over 10 minutes to go for them to tiptoe around and the end of this race with no further dramas. That will be the case. Ashton Dusky gains another near half second on Brodie McConkie so far. I wonder whether these conditions are so bad that you might think about no stopping anyway. I think that's highly unlikely actually, but just a thought maybe if it happens a bit later. Senese now pulls to the inside of Tom Donahoe. This is Julian Senese trying to regain some of those places from losing them earlier on. And there he goes, straight down the inside, straight through into 6th position, Julian Senese. And that was fairly easily done, and he will look to continue to take up these places after that spin in the last few moments, because next two are both silver class drivers, which he should be able to dispatch.
Yeah, just seen that Scott Pocock is in the pit lane, and 4.35 seconds. Thomas Hinz was on his marks for about 4.5 seconds, and he's now running P12 at the minute. So, yeah, interesting that Harrison Dusky has been in for a pit stop. Now, let's not forget he was fastest in free practice earlier on, but it's more the case of, how he did previously, and in the previous round didn't place in the top 3, but this could be an opportunity for him. I mean, he was currently 6th in the standings coming into this round of the championship with the sprint format here at Fuji, and there is Alex Stevens battling away with Markus Knizia, and look, both of them are running 4th and 5th respectively. Knizia ahead of Stevens as they come out of the final corner. Stevens pulls to the right-hand side. Looks like he's committed to the pit lane. The undercut might be on for the current Silver Championship leader.
Absolutely. Looking to consolidate that championship lead that currently totals 24 by the start of the day, but Joe Dixon not here today. Told us last week that it's not really his focus, the championship, because he's missing rounds here towards the end. It's very much Stevens' championship to lose, I would say, at the front. This is now down towards the back end of the field. Well, I say back end, it's not that far down, but they're over a minute off the lead anyway. It's Thomas Hinz having got out onto the circuit just ahead of Douglas Gowans and Dylan DeBono, only just. DeBono surely he's going to try and work his way past the other side here and go to the right-hand side. No, maybe not. Hinz is going to be dispatched off, though, by Douglas Gowans into turn 1. Very late on the brakes from Hinz. Way too late on the brakes. I think he would have just done well to stop that in dry conditions, to be honest. That was far too late for these wet weather conditions.
Yeah, it looks like it was a lock-up on the front tyres there, Ewan, because the fronts didn't really rotate. They just locked up, and straight on he went. But at least there's a runoff area rather than an extensive gravel trap, because if if that was the latter, then he would have been bringing gravel all onto the circuit, and especially with the fact that the debris model on iRacing having been updated a couple of months ago, it really has changed things as McConkey goes into pit lane. Ryan versus Pocock for 15th out on track, as slight off run by Alex Stevens, and Thomas Hinds quickly dispatches him in the meantime. They head up the hill once again, and turn 10 is no longer flat. You've got to go on the brakes and be very, very careful, as Dusky, Rehana, Konitska, Seneze, Donoghue, and is Daniel Byrne going to pit very shortly in the 808s? Yes, he does. So this is where we're now going to see that flurry of people in the pit lane coming out. And that is Brodie McConkey, comes out still with a race lead. And who is going to be the one that's going to benefit? Danny Davison up to P2. Oh, the two that clashed on the penultimate lap on race 1 now lead it, 1 and 2. McConkey ahead by 12.6 seconds. I think that possibly a little bit less ahead of Danny Davison, but we're into the final 7 minutes here, Ewan, and McConkey hasn't really put a foot wrong in this race so far.
Oh, it's cruising now. Just got to get past some lap cars without causing too much trouble. That's Matt Tesario just up in front. Well, oh, bit of a slide in through right-hander at turn 8 there. Not really a corner normally, but it's like glass, isn't it? Looking at the road, so shiny because of the wet weather conditions. I mean, it's one of the great things about iRacing, isn't it? We can put these drivers into conditions that just wouldn't be raced in real life. But I've got to say, I'm enjoying the fact that we can do that in iRacing and just see what would happen on iRacing if we were to let these guys go out, let loose in these insanely wet conditions.
I mean, the glare from the back of it is, you can see here, it's nearly as shiny as a glass mirror at this point in time, as Brodie McConkey spitting water high and way behind him as we go on to what will be lap number 15. And the lap time this time round, even with the pit stop, a 2:19.3. We're seeing, I think the fastest lap times I've seen actually just now, Danny Davison at a 1:47. He's just done a 1:48.5. So we're seeing a big disparity in terms of lap times here. I'm seeing as without pit stops as high as 1:55, 1:56, and as low as a 1:48. So it's just about keeping your wits about you, and McConkey is just going to try and keep that car on the black stuff, not make any mistakes, as Giuliano Seneze and Marcus Konitska are playing musical chairs for 5th overall. Konitska leading in silver, and Alex Stevens is not that far behind Giuliano Seneze, who has had his own trials and tribulations in this race thus far.
Oh, absolutely. There's not many drivers who haven't had their own incidents here and there. These lap times now, by the way, are, I know most of them have just come out the pit lane, but some of them are 10 seconds or slower than their best laps. And there's Davison slightly wide. Wonder how many drivers will end up doing that over the next 5 minutes here. Still using this faster layout of Fuji, of course, but I've got to say it's a good layout, actually. It doesn't really take anything away from Fuji, I wouldn't say, by getting rid of that chicane. The probably keeps the flow a little bit better, in all honesty. Anyway, minutes to go, and they will then have, well, so they're going to be 3 laps probably. Yeah, will be just about. Or Brodie McConkey, just to keep it on the road. Further behind, Jackson Rihanna is still 4, so it's a good points haul from him, and he's going to gain significantly on Mark Hilly. Still down, now in 29th, but still become his drop round. And so Rihanna's going to gain at least 30 points over Mark Hilly on the overall day, that is. If it is 30, it won't be exactly, but roughly 30. That'll bring it down to 81 points, the gap. Still very much Mark Hilly's championship to lose. However, it's a big dent in the championship lead, and not at the point in the season where he's want it either.
No, that rain still continuing to fall. Oh, McConkey had a little bit of a moment with the back end stepping out to the left-hand side on the rear of the 23. And yeah, it looks like Danny Davidson feeling a little bit more confident in his own right, but we've even seen him go off just a few moments ago. So it is that case of mechanical sympathy, get the car back across the line, get through on one piece. As we've got a black flag for Miguel Teixeira in 17th. So his race was looking pretty promising, and now it's had another bit of a turnaround in terms of his fortunes so far for the number 63. But yeah, I think it's the case that McConkey, he's going to have 2 more laps to go, bearing in mind on when he crosses the stripe, because he's just coming out of the final corner now. It's going to be tight on time, but we might have 2 more laps to go. His last lap was a 150.7. This is going to be so close. 9, 10, 11. He hasn't crossed the stripe yet, has he? Oh, he has a little bit earlier on. So yeah, it's going to be 2 laps to go, Ewan. So Brodie McConkey, he's going to be like thinking, okay, just do what you need to do. If you need to lose a little bit of that lead, just make sure you consolidate the win.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not going to want to risk it all, maintaining the current gap. That's the beauty of having 8.5 seconds here. He can just utilise that to back off a little bit at the end of this race. That is Mark Hilly right behind him as well, by the way. So Hilly going to finish just about 2 laps down in this race behind Brodie McConkey. Maybe we'll try and put a marker down and overtake the race leader. Not entirely sure, but these two, of course, having a great battle in the opening race of the day. Back together towards the end of the second race as well, with just less than 1 minute to go. Not too many battles going on out there on the circuit, I've got to say. Craig Edwards still trying to make his way back through the field again. He's got to 14th now, on the back of Daniel Byrne. But, yeah, there's not too many in this very spread out field, as expected, over the course of half an hour of very, very difficult racing. The first time we've seen rain, I think, this season. Road America was forecasted to rain, despite a 99% chance of rain. It somehow never arrived. Certainly arrived with fierceness here today, and with intensity as the seconds tick away on the half an hour. Conky has gone just about fast enough to get us an 18th lap in this race. This will be a lap of honour, really. He's barely losing any time. He'll let Mark Hilly go. No need to race with him. Just bring this one home now with 8 seconds in hand.
Yeah, he's done a absolutely sterling job. Started from the outside of row number 3, started 6th. Danny Davidson has to get a big shout out here as well. Started from P12, now 2nd. Harrison Dusky, who started from the pit lane, obviously after his penalty points, but took pole position by just 1/1000th of a second, and that was ahead of Miguel Teixeira, who has served his black flag penalty now and has rejoined in 22nd place as the number 63. So a shame for him, because that could have been that was effectively, if Dusky hadn't gone out for qualifying, then Miguel Teixeira would have been on an official pole position. But Dusky having to start from pit lane, and he wasn't the only one either, as here is Danny Davidson running the Maranello Tribute Racing Band at the moment, as we are past the timer, and Brodie McConkey hasn't got much of the lap left to run here.
Lost a little bit of time on the last lap, despite these two racing, but he will have plenty of time to celebrate at the end of a great drive. His first ever win in the Player One SimGift Super Formula Lights Championship, and it comes in the pouring rain at Fuji. Second podium of the season as well for McConkey. He brings it over the line, and he will feel this is about 45 minutes later than when he should have had his first win of the night. But this is his victory. His feature race goes to Brodie McConkey, as in the background, Davison and Dusky go side by side over the line. 25 thousandths between them, but Davison holds on. behind. Marcus Knitska is going to take the victory in silver. He's in 6th place overall at the moment, and he will just gain those few points on Alex Stevens, who's had a pretty good day all in all in the silver class. He continues to lead the championship, I should say, and will extend that lead as well with another solid performance here for Alex Stevens. A top 10, despite actually losing position on the last lap, and in fact, he doesn't get his top 10 as Dylan De Bono gets past him at the line. It's still a solid day, although I'm sure he'll be disappointed to miss out on the top 10 at the very end there.
Yeah, very much the case. It just goes to show that the person that's mastered the madness here at Fuji, despite their being involved in the madness in the opening race, Brodie McConkey's done an absolutely stellar job there.
Absolutely fantastic job from him. Further behind, Teixeira and Robillard are going to race to the line, it looks like. The only battle really remaining on the circuit, down for 22nd in the field. Like Teixeira is going to hold on to that position though as they run across the line now. And Nathan Verney will be our final driver to cross the line as well to end the day. 24 getting home on the lead lap. A few more off the lead lap and 2 retirements as well, all to go through in a moment here in these race results, which we can do now at the end of race 2 here from Fuji tonight. Brodie McConkey has taken the victory in race 2. 6.8 seconds the gap at the line. Davison and Dusky were side by side over the line for 2nd and 3rd. Jackson Rihanna 4th place, gains points in the championship to Mark Hilly. And he will now be 2nd ahead of Craig Edwards in that championship race. Giuliano Sanese 5th ahead of Marcus Knitska, who wins in silver. Thomas Hinds is 7th ahead of Angus Milne. Scott Bartine, Dylan De Bono round out the top 10. Alex Stevens is just outside of that top 10, although a photo finish there at the end. Tom Donahue was 12th ahead of Craig Edwards, Daniel Byrne. Then to a lot of the silver class drivers, Scott Pocock, Will Ryan, Tristan McLaren, Jason Madden, Nick Bottle, Douglas Gowan, rounding out the top 20. Interruption from Daniel Ackland, gold class driver in 21st. Then Migo Teixeira, who beat Jake Robillard to the line. Nathan Burney, the last driver on the lead lap, headed to top box. Mac Cesario and Darren Fahey. Stuart Thompson was 2 down, with Mark Hilly 3 down after his 2 meatball flags today. And Phil Vella didn't get to the finish in the end for those guys. Let's have a chat then to Brodie McConkey, our race winner here from race number 2 tonight. Brodie, congratulations and thanks very much for joining us after the 2nd race, your first victory here in the Play One SimGame Super Formula Lights Championship. How difficult, though, were those conditions there? Getting more difficult towards the end of the race for you to bring that one home for the win.
Yeah, very difficult. Would have got a bit of it all, really. I think you could have almost started on slicks in that one, and by the end, yeah, it was pretty much undrivable, especially for those that didn't take tyres like myself. But we built a pretty solid lead early on, so the last few laps, we could just cruise a little bit and just not do anything silly, and yeah. Really happy and a bit of redemption for race 1, I think. Bit frustrated as I think we had the pace in that one too. But yeah, really good redemption.
I'm going to ask about race 1 as well, actually, about that late spin. It was a dramatic moment, a dramatic battle actually between the 3 of you as it became. But just talk us through those final laps there as you were pushing for the victory in race 1.
Yeah, so probably a lap before the spin, or a lap and a half before the spin, we sort of started to see a dry line forming, and then you could really feel the grip coming in steps. It wasn't really a slow progression; it was coming in big jumps. And then I sort of found that at the corner before. So every corner you're getting on the throttle, more aggressive, and the times are tumbly, and obviously the wet tyres are getting hotter. And I'm not really too sure. I think just the nature of the corner and using second gear, maybe a bit of turbo lag or a turbo spike, or even just touching the right rear on the painted line. It went pretty quickly, but it's just part of how those races go. Everyone's got the same conditions they need to adjust to, and unfortunately, I made a mistake in that one.
Well, congratulations on bouncing back very quickly and getting that 2nd race victory here tonight, your 1st of the season. Thanks for chatting to us at the end of the day, and once again, congrats tonight.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Very much. Brodie McConkey, the race winner in race 2 tonight from Fuji. Unfortunately, Danny Davison doesn't look like he's going to join us, but Harrison Dusky is. the third place driver from race 2 tonight. Harrison, welcome in, and congratulations on a great run through the field. On our timing screen, it's forever going to say you lost 2 positions on this race, which is obviously, as we know, not true, because you got pole and then started from the pit lane. Just tell us about those passes you had to make. Nearly 30 of them you will have made by the end of the day. Tell us about your working through the field.
It was very hard. It was very hard to keep it on track, but you basically just had to keep it on track and you'd gain most of the positions. So I just had to keep it straight, and some people were falling off, so just gaining the free positions and then just try and stay consistent with no mistakes, really. Good.
Well, it was a great run through the field and a great way to get back on the podium again. It's been a few weeks since you've been able to get on the podium, since Road America, where you were able to take second place. How important is this for you to have bounced back now and got back up here again?
I mean, very good. Like the championship leader, I think finished 3 laps behind, so that's good for me if I'm trying to catch back up to the first position. But I don't know. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. You never know what happens.
Well, absolutely. Harrison, congratulations on that run through the field and the podium tonight, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
No, all good. Thank you.
Very much. That is Harrison Dusky, the third place driver tonight, and our silver class winner. One more driver to have a chat to before the end. Marcus can now join us as well. Marcus, welcome in, and congratulations on the victory in the silver class here tonight in race number 2. Up 18 places as well, but the real thing today was, it seemed anyway, drivers against conditions, it seemed. How bad was it in that second race especially?
Oh, mate, when the rain came down, it was ridiculous. Like, you were just going into turn 1 and you could hear the engine, and then you hit the brakes and the rain came down and all I could hear was the rain. It was nuts. Yeah, it was massive survival. Had an awesome race. Yeah, like I said, P18, did you say?
18 places gained. Yeah.
18 24 to 6, yeah. So yeah, had a bit of a balk in qualifying, didn't get my last lap in, so I was a bit disappointed with that. But yeah, seeing the rain coming down, I was like, oh, it's a good chance to just, keep the car on the track and try and gain some positions. But I'm having some good battles there. Maybe a battle that I didn't really want to have with Sinise. I was like, please just go. But yeah, that was fun.
Well, it was a great run through the field as well, and of course it gets you a lot of points in this championship as well. Started the day 54 behind Alex Stevens. Had a solid day himself, but you have finished in front of him with some very big points for 6th place, of course, which is the way this point system works. How much of that is actually a target for you in these final 2 rounds to maybe chase down Stevens and clinch the title at the very end here?
I mean, I don't think it's a huge target. Like, I think if I end the season closer to Alex than like I was last week, which I should do now, that was a good points haul. But, in the silver class, it can be really swingy. Like, if someone has a really good finish and finishes in the top 5 or whatever, you can gain or lose a lot of points. So, look, I'm not too focused on the championship. Like, Alex is my teammate after all. So, I don't know, if one of us wins it, I'll be happy.
Absolutely. It looks like it might be one of the two of you, but let's not jinx it. And let's see in the next 2 weeks at Bathurst.
Yeah, no,
of course.
I'm not focused. I'm just trying to take the last few races, race by race. I was thinking before this race too that I haven't really put together a whole night. So, yeah, it's always been like 1 or 2 mistakes that have cost me big time. So, yeah, really happy that I could actually put one together tonight.
Well, congratulations on that, Marcus, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
No dramas. Thanks, mate.
Thanks very much. That is Marcus Konecka, the silver class winner from race 2 here tonight. Well, that's just about it for us here tonight. I've got to say, great couple of races, Alex, here at Fuji. The weather certainly playing its role, as we always suspected it will, but such high drama, especially in race 2, with that championship leader having 2 meatball flags and dropping all the way down to finishing 3 laps down by the end. Yeah, it sets us up very nicely for the final 2 rounds of the season.
Yes, it does, Ewan. It's just, as folks can see, the rain is still coming down at the circuit. Yeah, I thought we might have a really, really big field attrition race, but with 24 cars still coming over the line on the lead lap after 30 minutes of treacherous standing water around this circuit. You know, I have to say, hats off to all the drivers. But I think they're all going to be breathing a sigh of relief. You know, they'll be sweating buckets. They'll be mentally and physically taxed. But they'll think, well, at least I got through it, and at least I got some points on the board. But yeah, should be an interesting round next time out.
Absolutely. We'll be heading to the mountain for the final 45-minute feature round of our championship before our 60-minute finale at the end of the season at Silverstone. We'll be live same time, same place over the next 2 weeks as we decide the champion for the Player One SimGears Super Formula Lights Championship in Season 3. Of course, supported by Everything Simulated and also supported by Capstone Marketing and Print Racer. Big thanks to those sponsors who make these broadcasts and indeed this series possible on a Tuesday night. It's been fun to bring you this broadcast here tonight from Fuji. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've been alongside Alex Goldschmidt with Austin Sheff, our producer, here tonight. We'll be back in 7 days' time from Bathurst for that penultimate round of the season. I hope you can join us then. But from now, from all of us from Fuji, it's goodbye for now.
Go.